Okay, if you are watching this video, I feel like I should explain right up front that this video that I'm doing is kind of born out of some frustration and annoyance and even some rage. And part of this may be a little bit more on the sarcastic side than what it needs to be, but I play GMod and I play a lot of it. I've put in close to 700 hours since about February of 2014. It is now just on the precipice of February 2015. So we're getting close to a year and about 700 hours I've put into the game. I am not the best player that's out there. I would never claim to be. I'm pretty piss poor. But I have fun with it, and the game means a lot to me. And there are just certain times when things happen in these games that really get on my nerves. And one of the things seems to be people's inability to understand basic concepts of the modes that they're playing. And while I could probably talk about some of the other modes that I love to play, like hide and seek and prop hunt, I'm talking about murder this time. Murder has probably regained its top spot for me as my favorite mode in GMod. And I play it a lot. And there are some basics to how the game is played. Okay, let me explain some of this. In Murder, there are at least 2 players, and hopefully you get more. But 2 players, one of which is a murderer, one of which is a bystander with a gun. If you have more than 2 players, then all the rest of them will be bystanders without guns. They basically just run around and try to survive. The person with the gun, it's really their focus to try to figure out who the murderer is, observe and watch things, and shoot the murderer when they reveal themselves. And of course, the murderer's job is to simply just kill everybody and try to kill them all so that they win the round. If you have the gun and you shoot the murderer, then you have won the round, or the bystanders have won. Now, on most murder maps that I play on, there are these items that pop up in the map. Clues, evidence, whatever you want to call those items. They usually glow green. They randomly spawn. Well, they don't randomly spawn. They spawn in certain places, but when they spawn is random. Usually the collecting of items throughout the map causes other items to spawn in. And typically, on the servers that I've played on, I think this can be altered if it's a custom server or whatever, but typically if you are a bystander with no gun, or even the guy with the gun, if you collect 5 of those items, boom, you now have a gun. So if you were not armed before, now you have a gun. If you already had the gun, another gun spawns and just squirts out onto the ground for another bystander without a gun to be able to pick up. This is very, very key, because sometimes the murderers try to play it really, really slow. They try to get people out of the way. They don't just go on a crazy murder spree in the game. I sometimes do this. I stealthily move around the map and try to get somebody who's away from everyone else, knife them and move on. Sometimes that means the murderer takes their time. Well, the bystanders, if they're collecting those pieces, and eventually 2 or 3 or 4 of those people now have guns, sometimes it's really obvious who the murderer is. Now, as the murderer, it's a really good idea to be picking up those pieces too, because you take them away from the bystanders. Nothing happens as a murderer when you hit 5 of those pieces, or 10 or 15, or however many you get. I think I've had over 20 before in a round as a murderer before I either won or I was killed. I take that away from the other people from being able to piece together a gun themselves. Now, I was playing on a server last night, my favorite server, the Banana Shack Murder 2, and there was this guy who literally yelled at another player, said, "Hey, why are you picking up those pieces? You already have a gun." And I'm thinking to myself, how long have you been playing this game, dude, that you don't understand? Everybody in the entire game needs to be picking those pieces up. Everybody. Even if you have a gun, because if you collect 5 of those, like I said before, another gun just squirts out. Whenever I have the gun and I do that, I'm like, "Hey guys, there's a gun in this room, in this location, come get it." 2 things happen there. One, you either get another bystander who comes and gets a gun and now they're armed and they're thankful for it, or you get the murderer coming to that room to try to kill other people. If they run over the gun and don't pick it up, boom, now I know that that's the murderer. It is possible for a non-murderer to have that happen. Sometimes the gun gets positioned under a body or around, like under an item where it can't be picked up, so you have to be careful about that. Two, if an idiot bystander with a gun shoots another person in RDMs, which is something I will talk about in a moment, for a certain amount of time they can't pick up the gun that they originally had. I guess I should clarify that. I have seen someone RDM somebody and then be able to pick up the gun that, say, maybe the murderer just killed the guy with the gun, and that gun pops out. You can pick that up. It is a little bit complicated, but those scenarios are pretty rare. But I will watch to see if somebody runs over a gun like that and they don't pick it up, and they're moving at a decent speed, because you slow down if you RDM as well. It's pretty obvious. These are just the little things that you pick up from playing this game, and it offends me sometimes when people who come in and they don't, like, oh, I've never played this, how do I do it? They're like running around and they already know some stuff about it, but they don't think about these things. It bothers me immensely. So like I said, if I'm a guy in a game of murder, it doesn't matter what my role is, I'm picking up those pieces all the time. Now, there is one thing that a murderer can do on some servers. On the server that I play on, it doesn't work this way, but I have seen this. You can exchange those pieces that you've picked up as a murderer and swap your skin out. So here's the scenario. You're the murderer. You've picked up a couple of those clues on the map. You've just stabbed and killed somebody. Now you can look at their corpse and it'll say press E to exchange one piece to swap skins. And then what happens is your name and color, because everybody in the round has a name and a color: blue hotel, green Miko, orange foxtrot, whatever. It's random names and random colors. But now all of a sudden you have your physical appearance has now changed. You now look like the person that you just killed. It can kind of help to deceive people. All of a sudden you look like somebody different, and they won't necessarily immediately think, oh, that's the murderer. Even though I'm pretty sure if they walk up to you, they still see that your name is this and it's this color. I may be mistaken on that, because I'm talking about the server that I usually play on and the rules that we work under. I tried to explain to this guy last night over and over again. Sadly, my daughter was here. I was playing the game, but I couldn't talk. If I was able to have actually used the voice chat, I could have explained myself better. But I still thought that by typing it in, he would pick it up, but he was not picking it up. So I was just like, screw it. I'm the murderer, but you guys can just kiss my ass, because I can't deal with this guy. I really do think that guy was being immensely ignorant and very stupid about it. Everybody should be picking up those pieces regardless of what your role is. If you are a bystander, and even if you have a gun, you're not taking those pieces away from someone else to get a gun, because eventually you can pop another gun out and somebody can pick it up. But you also keep it away from the murderer, because as the murderer picks them up, he's just taking them away from us. He was like, well, what would the point of that being? It's not like the murderer is going to have a gun and a knife. And I'm like, no, he's not. But he's taking those pieces away from you guys. You should be more upset that the murderer is taking those pieces away than me, who may have a gun, because I can still spawn another gun. And I think on some servers, if you hit 10 and 15 for every 5 that you pick up, you can continue to generate more weapons. Maybe that's not the way it is on the servers that I play on, because it seems like I've hit 10 or more and didn't get a second gun. But still, if that is the case, then my ass would stop picking them up after 5. But still, why would you let the murderer take those pieces away from you? Let everybody just pick them all up, and let people get guns. Let the guy with the gun spawn a second gun. It just makes sense. This is how you play the game. This is how you play the game on the server with the rules that we have. You play on murder server with different rules than this, then disregard what I'm saying. Although I would still imagine that the basic concept would hold true. Now, in addition to that particular thing, yes, there are other things that bother me in Gmod. Here lately in the server that I play on, there has been just a constant rash of people RDMing. And if you don't know what RDMing stands for, what it means, it stands for random deathmatch. A lot of people seem to have this concept mistaken too. Random deathmatch just means you have the gun and you run out and there's a whole bunch of people and you just shoot somebody for no reason. You lose your gun, you lose your ability to move fast. In some servers you get blinded for that 20, 30 seconds or whatever. On the servers I play on, you don't lose your visibility, but you are no longer able to run. You can't pick the gun right back up. You're pretty open and vulnerable to, the murderer. And people usually do this for the sake of trolling, which means they just go in to kill people to piss them off. They go to take somebody out of the match. Because, if you got shot, you're now dead and you're spectating until the round starts again. And if that happens early in the round, it can be very upsetting. Of course, I know it probably pisses people off when they spawn right next to the murderer and the murderer kills them immediately and they don't get to play anymore in the round. But that's kind of the way it is. You expect that, but you don't expect somebody to shoot you for no reason. You shouldn't even be shooting people if they run up to you and they get up all in your face and they're talking on the voice chat and they're like, I'm going to kill you. I wait until I've seen a knife. I wait until, occasionally I have the gun and I see somebody maybe walk around a corner and all of a sudden their body goes flying back because they just got knifed. I go around the corner and there's one person there. I'm going to shoot that person because more than likely the murderer did not get away in that split second. I like it when people will say, oh, the murderer is Green Foxtrot, but I won't just run up to Green Foxtrot and shoot them. I have to watch them and make sure that they pop the knife. If they start smoking because they haven't killed somebody in a while, that's something that happens on most servers, I assume. Or when people sprint, because I don't think a lot of people realize that only the murderer can sprint in those games. They can also throw their knife. But they can sprint fast and run faster than the rest of us. If I see somebody running faster than the rest of us, I'm going to shoot you even if you don't pull your knife out. I don't consider that RDM either. RDM, like I said, is just doing that. And I heard somebody in the same session last night say, oh, it wasn't RDM because I actually shot the murderer. No, it's RDM. If you actually come out and say, oh, I didn't RDM, I actually shot the murderer, that means you shot them with no provocation and you just got lucky that they were the murderer and you're a fucking idiot. And that's how I feel about it. I get passionate about this game at times. I'm closed mouth most of the time. I don't always speak. My social anxieties cause me to not engage as much sometimes. But oh boy, I'll tell you what, when people are either being dense and stupid, when they're RDMing and being trollish, I do get mad sometimes. And I had another situation less than a week ago, I would say, but I'm not going to get into it now. But I had some people who I thought were literally going to try to come back to the server and harass me a bunch. I worry that people are going to try to hack me or something. It can be a very volatile and stressful world to play in. But goddammit, it's one of my favorite games of all time, and I just can't stop playing. So I will continue to be passionate and speak out about things like this. It just really gets on my nerves. I just wish that people would... If you're being a troll, I wish you would get the hell out. But if you're trying to play the game the right way and you have some sort of an ignorance about basic game concepts, I just wish that you would try to learn and understand it a little better. I'm always open for learning more, and I learn all of my stuff from basically playing the game and observing the way other people do it. I'm self-taught, I guess you would say. I didn't watch a tutorial about how to play GMod beforehand. I watched a lot of GMod videos on YouTube, sure, but when I went into it, I was like, okay, I know that this is my first time, and I'm going to watch and try to learn and absorb things. And if people want to play differently, that's fine, but when it's just ignorance, when it's born of ignorance, then, yeah, that's going to spark me a little bit. It's going to trigger me, I guess. I guess that's the new hot term these days, is triggered. And I'm not trying to make fun of people who get triggered by legit things, but it triggers my anger and my annoyance with people when they're just being ignorant. Okay, so anyway, that's it. Blah, blah, blah. This video turned out to not really be what I expected it to be, but whatever. Play Garry's Mod Murder. It's super fun, but just try to learn a little bit more about it before you go off on everybody else. Alright, that's it.